Vamos a hacer el segundo. ¿Cuánto falta para que nos...
Para que entre.
¿Qué?
Welcome to another edition of Prime Parents, and I'm your host, welcome to another edition of Prime Parents, presented by yours truly, where I'm your host and the proprietor, as Shannon Sharp would say. I am Chico to the C, BiggDogg, and we're here. We have another one, another special guest, should I say. We have two of them, and these two have their own very unique story, of course, to share. We're going to give a warm welcome in the chat, and for everybody listening internationally and nationally around the world, wherever, make sure y'all turn them up in the chats right now. Let them know. Let them show your appreciation. We have the parents of CU Buffs kicker Alejandro Mata in the building. Here we have Miss Nora and Mr. Alejandro Mata. How's it going? Thank you guys for joining me.
Thank you, Chico. Thank you for hosting us. We're excited about this. It has been a journey, as you said, and we're looking forward to speak to you and let you know our story over the last few years.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you for the invitation.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for joining. Before we get into that journey, we'll talk about just the prime effect and everything going on right now. We see you guys in your prime jersey. You have your Alejandro Mata jersey on. Tell us, how has this been, this experience, this whole time? At least we'll just talk about Colorado right now with the prime effect and everything going on.
I'll go. Okay, so it's been, listen, it was late last year when Coach Bryant called me and let me know that, he wanted Alejandro to go with him to Colorado. That phone call to me was, first of all, was amazing because, you don't expect Coach Bryant to call you directly to your mobile like that. Right. And when he did, it was like, whoa, and yes, Coach, of course, we support you. We love you. We want to be with you. You could take him whatever you need to wherever you want to. So it was a good talk, 5-minute talk, but it was great. And it was an opportunity for Alejandro to continue growing his kicking career and having a good place to continue studying. And both my wife and I were very excited for that opportunity. And it has been, to be honest with you, as expected. We know Coach Bryant from Jackson State. It's just the vibe, the energy, the leadership, everything around Coach Bryant is just awesome. And we are so blessed to be a part of this. Right?
Exactly.
Excellent. All right. So before we even move forward, we're going to step back really quick so that everybody listening in can get to know you guys, understand where you guys come from and your story. So let's talk about both your upbringing and your backgrounds and your story, so to speak.
No, your story.
All right. So, I was
the
born
real one.
I was born in Panama. And I lived in Panama for the first 18 years of my life. My parents, my oldest brother, my two younger sisters, they still live in Panama. Just my brother and I moved to Atlanta. So I was born in Panama, and then I went to school in Tennessee, University of Tennessee. I went to school. I got my bachelor's in chemical engineering back in '97. And actually, on a side point, I graduated with Peyton Manning back then in Tennessee. So it was fun to watch him play all these years in Tennessee. But previous to that, I did my senior year of high school here in the U.S. So when I was in Panama, I didn't know any English. So my parents sent me to the U.S. to finish my high school. And I graduated in a small town called Madison, Maine, in high school. And that's when I played as a kicker for that high school team. I was the kicker for the high school team. We were state champs. That was in the state of Maine. I was a small town, Madison, Maine, and I was the kicker for them. And I had a blast. I learned how to kick a football. Never had kicked a football before, so that was fun. And then graduated from Madison High School. Went to Tennessee to get my bachelor's, and then I started working for a company, an English company, which I worked for 22 years in several countries. That's why we were in so many countries, right? I moved from the U.S. to Mexico. They promoted me into Mexico. That's when I met this young lady right here, the love of my life. I met her in Mexico just for a full year, and then I got transferred to Honduras. And then we were girlfriend and boyfriend for quite a while. While I was in Honduras, so I was flying back to Honduras to see her once a month.
For 1 year, yeah.
And then we decided to marry.
He decided.
And we married in 2002, in June 29 of 2002. We got married. And then 2 years later, Mr. Alejandro was born in Honduras, San Pedro Sula, Honduras. And we were there with them. Then I got promoted back to Mexico. Spent some time in Dominican Republic, but I got sent back to Mexico. So Alejandro obviously went with us, and my two younger daughters were born in Mexico.
We lived in Mexico for 7 years.
We did in Mexico for 7 years. That's correct. And then I got promoted to another executive role in Brazil. So from Mexico, we went to Brazil and stayed about 3 years in Brazil before coming back to the U.S. back in 2016 as another promotion role with the company. So all this time, this 22 years of with this company I worked for, it was in these many countries, and obviously learned different cultures and different languages, and it was quite nice to have, right? And having my kids to learn both English and Spanish and Portuguese in Brazil was also quite nice to have. So yeah, that's an overall high level view of what my life looked like over the last 25, 26 years of my life. And we've been married since 2002. We've been married for 21 years. We were girlfriend and boyfriend for 2 years. We met on April 4th of 2000, about 8:20 at night on a soccer field. Yeah, it's a good love story. To be honest with you, we love each other really a lot, and we continue to have a great relationship, and we're just really happy to have 3 wonderful kids, and living here in Buford, Georgia. That's where we live over the last 4 or 5 years.
Georgia. We're going to get to that. Miss Nora, can you tell us a little bit about your background in Mexico?
Well, I born in Mexico, and I didn't have idea to live in another country, actually. Until I born in Mexico. All my family is in Mexico until now. But I born and I grew up in Mexico City. I'm from Mexico City, and then I graduated in university. I studied business administration in Mexico, and I start to work like my normal life until I met him. And I go, okay, let's go to in a group, a very good group of friends, and was amazing. No, we didn't know about our story. We didn't know what happened because we need to be transferred. So we didn't know in that moment that we need to be together or no. Let's see what happened. And was amazing he traveled every month to convince me.
Sure did.
And that is the story.
That is a love story that brought you guys through. What is that? What did I count? 4 different countries, including the U.S. 4 different countries.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah,
5
5 with Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
Yes. So, man, just like you said, learning different cultures, experiencing different cultures, and then you have your kids. And Alejandro is the first one. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, and he was born in Honduras, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct. He was born in Honduras and lived there for about a year and a half, roughly, before we got moved back to Mexico.
Right. Then Mexico and Brazil. And so how has it been going to a place like Buford, Georgia?
Well, when we first moved from Brazil to the U.S., we actually moved to Albany, Georgia.
Okay.
We lived in Albany for about 3 years. We were going to Lee County schools.
Yeah.
They took us in really nicely. We started, getting to see my wife and my kids the American culture, because they never had it. They only been to Orlando, to Disney, and that's about it.
Okay.
Right. So I was, I went to school here in the U.S. I lived in the U.S. for 10 years before I moved to Mexico. So I knew pretty well, and I really enjoy and love the culture here in the U.S. That's why I wanted my family to have a piece of it.
Mm-hmm.
And they obviously embraced it, and now they don't want to leave. They want to stay here, and we're having a great time. But yeah, it's just that when we moved from Brazil to Albany, it was a culture shock, to be honest. We were living in Sao Paulo, Brazil, which is one of the biggest cities in the world.
Yes.
We're living in a big old building, like 37th floor apartment, and really nice view to the city and stuff. And now you move into Albany, Georgia.
Yes.
Right. So you know what I mean? The change is huge. Right. So we did that, and I was traveling a lot because of my job. But my kids, those first 3 years in the US, went to school in Lee County. Mm-hmm. And that's when Alejandro really saw American football live for the first time, right? Because he had this school in Honduras a little bit. In Mexico, had big school of soccer. And then Brazil, Brazil is the best in soccer. So all he saw was soccer. So by the time he came to the US, he was in a different level in terms of soccer. So he immediately got, he made the middle school team as a sixth grader. He was starting forward. He had skills. The kid had big time skills. And then, kicking like that, the way he always kicked so hard. He always kicked really hard since he was a kid. And that's when, a coach in Lee County went like, wait a second, hey, you kind of kick the soccer ball pretty good. Why don't you try this ball right here? And he was like, yeah, sure. And bam, there he goes, right? And, but his love is soccer. Obviously, he's been surrounded by it all his life. And that's how he got into the sport.
Wow. So with your background in the sport, did you kind of, preview him, kind of tell him about football a little bit, before even coming to America?
Oh, yeah. He used to, because I've been in fantasy football for many, many years, right?
Okay.
So he always wanted to be, hey, I want to do this, do that and stuff. So I started to show him the NFL teams and stuff. He never really seen any high school or college football. All he knew was the,
right.
I remember when I bought him the Odell Beckham, jersey of the Giants, right?
Yes.
He was all excited about that, or the Russell Wilson jersey of the Seattle Seahawks, right? So he was like, oh, that's so cool, but he never really, we play in the streets, throwing the ball and stuff, but never had the chance to really put on the gear and kick a real football and stuff like that until we got to Albany, Georgia, which we had a blast in Albany. Honestly, it's a small town, but it was great place. People were nice to us. They embraced us really well. We loved living in there, but we had to make the move to Atlanta because of my job. But we have enjoyed these 7 years in the U.S. so much, and we're not going to go anywhere either.
We are blessed with that.
Right. And so in Georgia, of course, they have huge football, high school football and college football traditions down there. So I'm sure that was eye-opening seeing that and seeing how big it was, just for high school football games and things of that nature. How was that experience, just seeing that thing and going through that in Georgia?
You want to say? Okay. So, hey, man, Chico, this is amazing. But, Georgia, we didn't know much about high school football. I knew the UGA because they used to play Peyton back in the day, right? In football. So I knew UGA. Right. It wasn't as good as it is now. UGA was, but I knew UGA, and I always liked UGA. I didn't really like back then Alabama because that was the big rivalry with Tennessee was Alabama. But Georgia, I always like Georgia. The interesting thing, Chico, when we moved to Albany from Lee County in Albany to Buford, we were looking for schools in Buford. We were looking for a good school for our kids because we thought education was the first thing, academics and stuff. And my brother lived in Atlanta way before me. He's been in Atlanta since the 80s.
Oh, nice.
And I asked him, hey, what's some schools in Georgia that we could go? And he literally said, the very first school, he said, I think you should go to Buford. That's what he said. And we went, we drove, we went to different schools in the Atlanta area. And at the end of the day, Buford was the best deal for us.
Mm-hmm.
So when we came that summer to Buford, they already had the football team in place and everything. And then, we went to visit the Coach App, which shout out to Coach App, which is one of the best high school football coaches in the nation. So we went to talk to him. Hey, Coach, we just came in from Lee County. My son kind of knows how to kick. Would you give him a chance to? Oh, man. And the coaches, Coach Davis, Coach, all of them were like, come on in, bring him.
Yeah.
We put him right in there. They already had a senior kicker, which a great kid, Jaden, became a mentor for Alejandro in that early year. But then that was a sophomore year of Alejandro. But then his junior and senior year, he was the starter of Buford football high school team. And he never looked back after that. He just, he doesn't miss.
And state championships followed, right?
He got 3 state championships in a row. The first one, he wasn't the main kicker. He was the backup kicker. But as a junior, as a senior, he was the main kicker, and one of those state champs went to overtime, and because of his field goal, they won that state champ. So he got 3 rings. I probably have them here somewhere. Yeah. He got 3 rings, beautiful rings he's just a winner. He's just a blessed kid, and we're so happy to have such a wonderful kid together with our daughters.
Most definitely. So from Buford, he did his thing there, 3 championships. You can't ask for too much more, and a game winner also. I think I saw that one on the film that he posted back in the day. So all of a sudden, first let me rewind because I see some questions in here. Let me rewind. Sorry. How did and I think you kind of answered it, but for the questions in the chat, how did the transition from soccer to football happen? I know you said the coach said something to him coming in, knowing that he's a soccer player, and with your football background. How did that happen? Was it an easy transition for him? Did you have to convince him, or did he already know, hey, soccer is not very huge here, I might have to transition to football?
Hey, he joined a soccer team, club team. He was playing for the middle school, and he joined a club team in Atlanta. I think it's called United. UFA, United Football Academy, United of South Georgia. It was a travel team, so we used to go to Atlanta and play. And the kid was enjoying it. He loved that. He really loved playing soccer until today. I think you ask him, he's gonna go, yeah, let's go and play.
Yeah,
right? And he's very skilled on that. But when they made the transition, when that coach in Lee County recognized him, like, hey, this kid got potential. He kicked that ball and he said, you know what? I like this sport. I really like doing this too, and so he started going with both at the same time. Yeah. And then, it became evident that the way you kick the soccer is different than the way you kick the football. It's a different place, a different way of laying and stuff like that. So it was because of the mentoring and coaching that he received from coaches that he went to kicking coaches. They told him, listen, you might have to slow down on soccer if you want to be serious about football.
Yeah.
And that's the direction we went. I know he loved soccer a lot, but he knew that,
the passion
exactly that he has about football, about being a part of something special. And he lived that in Buford and then in Jackson State. And now he's living in Colorado. He's just this thing that he has gone through every year over the last 5 years or more, because in soccer, he was also winning championships and things like that. So he's been so blessed with being surrounded with really good people, with good
A family. This is
Yeah,
a bubble
kinda like-
family. Yeah.
It's just, I don't know, Chico. We've been blessed with people being so nice to us wherever we have been, man. It's just really nice. In Jackson State, man, those people are the best, man. They were so
Thank
sweet.
you for all the people. Absolutely.
People in Jackson State
Another
were
mother
so
for my
sweet,
son.
man.
Yeah.
And they love Alejandro so much and stuff. And now in Colorado, they embracing him. I see the people, how they talk to him after the game, how they want to take pictures with him, and how humble he is, and how, he's cool as a cucumber. Like,
He is. You can tell. And he is definitely a fan favorite since Jackson State. Before going to Jackson State, of course, he had to get a call from Coach Prime. Talk about his recruitment coming out of high school. Was he highly recruited? Was he overlooked? And then the call comes from Coach Prime. How did that happen?
Yeah, that's a good question, Chico. He had some small schools offers, about 3 or 4 of them. Nothing big, nothing huge. But when the Jackson State call came into Buford, they called Coach Davis, which is the running back coach in Buford. He pulled Alejandro out of the classroom. Hey, I got, somebody want to talk to you and stuff. And Alejandro took that call. And then they invited us for that official visit. I remember it was in November. It was a Saturday because we play football. They play in the playoff. Buford played in the playoff on that Friday. Alejandro hit a nice 49-yard, beautiful field goal that day. And the next day, me and him went flying back went to Jackson State. And interesting enough, I didn't know Tracy Sanders was sitting right next to me on the airplane. I didn't know.
Oh, wow.
But I saw the 21 there. It's like, whoa, very pretty lady and stuff. But it was like, and my son was next to me as well. So it's like, wow, that's related. But it kind of got me thinking, wow, this is serious right here. This is So we went to that the official visit on that Saturday with a bunch of different kids getting recruited, and then the next day on Sunday we met with Coach Prime, and we literally had breakfast with him. It was Coach Prime, myself, and Alejandro, and I met him, and I couldn't help myself giving him a hand and say, Coach, I follow you through an NFL, man. You are the GOAT, the very best defensive back ever in the NFL. I mean, I told him everything, And then he started talking to Alejandro. He's like, listen, we're struggling field in kicking special teams this year. We want to get somebody that we could guarantee would do good and stuff. We think that you could be the guy for us and stuff. And obviously, after hearing all that stuff, Alejandro went like that. I don't mind going to Jackson State at all. I don't mind that either. I love Coach Prime. Let's go for it.
Also, any type of because moving to Buford, Georgia, how was the Latin community or Mexican community there in that area?
In Buford or in Jackson?
In Buford.
Well, here in Buford, there's a pretty big number of people that are Hispanic descent in Buford. I would say probably, I think the ethnicity is like 25 to 30% Hispanics.
Nice.
Something like that in Buford. Yeah, not too bad at all. And but a lot of the kids don't speak Spanish. A lot of these kids speak English as first language and stuff. We, at least at home with my 3 kids, with Alejandro as well, when he go home, he knows we're going to be talking Spanish at home.
Yeah.
Whenever we go out, we speak English, right? But at home, that's all we do is Spanish to make sure they keep those 2 languages in. But we in Buford, there was it's a pretty good size amount of Latinos in Buford. In Jackson State, not as much.
Right. I
Not as
was going
much.
to say in Jackson State, totally different.
Yeah.
They don't have that. I would even say like in Buford, you might have a Fiesta type shopping center, for the Hispanic community. But in Jackson, I don't think you see any of that, right?
Hey, not that many, to be honest with you. But like I said, people, when I was sitting on the stadium watching him, kicking stuff, and then they asked me, "Who's your son?" And, he's the kicker, Mata. And everybody became a family and right next to me, and I mean, I felt the love.
The love, that Southern hospitality.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Definitely down there in Jackson,
Oh
Mississippi.
yeah, it was awesome. Great
And
experience.
for me, for mom was the most important in that part, because for me, I remember that Alejandro started to tell me when he was 12 or 13 years, Mom, are you ready? I need to go living when I'm graduated. What? No, don't say 4 years. Mom, the next year. It's only 3 years, you with me. What? No, Alejandro, you need to be studying here in Georgia. I don't want to go anywhere.
Right.
So when arrived that big opportunity for me, like, oh my goodness, Jackson is 6 hours away. Is I'm very close to my kids. Usually I that part is I don't work for that because I love to stay with my kids. And was like, oh my goodness, it's too far for me. It's another state. And I don't know nobody that is called like, hey, please take care of my son because he's my oldest son. No? But when we arrived was amazing, and thank you like a mom for that, for to take care of my son. Was the most important for me with the coaches. I told myself with the coaches, okay, I'm worried about that. I don't know if my son, please tell me that it's a good opportunity. I understand that, but I need to be sure that he's fine. Okay,
right.
Worries, mom. It's with Coach Prime, and nothing most important than that. So thank you all the people in Jackson that I feel that.
Shout out to those people.
Yes.
Much love to Jackson, Mississippi and the surrounding areas and the whole HBCU family that really showed love to Alejandro Mata and his family and continue to show love. So
True.
That little bit of that separation anxiety, I guess I could say, how has it been now? Because he's moved further west, and but he's still with Coach Prime. You still have that kind of like that security blanket, someone you can call on, someone you know that's going to take care of your son. How has that been? And did you even consider possibly moving from Buford, Georgia, or from Georgia to Colorado?
Chico, unfortunately, I promised my daughters and my wife, because we move a lot over the years, right? And I told them, listen, this is our last move. I promise you will graduate from Buford High School. So I got to stick to that promise. But certainly, it run through my head about, man, I would love to move to Boulder,
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, we're here in Buford. We're gonna be in Buford. It's far. I'll be honest with you. I tried to see the driving of it. It's like 20 hours. So I don't think so. And then the flight is 2.5 hours roughly, but they get expensive pretty quick, those flights over there. So we're trying to be there for him as much as we can. It's sometimes difficult because the expenses and stuff, but certainly is farther from us. However, as my wife said, the fact that he's with Coach Prime makes a big difference.
Yeah,
because we truly believe I believe in Jackson State.
That's right.
We believe in Jackson State. Eyes closed. We know who's Coach Prime. We're fine, and he is fine. I know he's fine.
Hey, that might be another slogan right there for recruiting. We're Coach Prime. We're fine.
Yeah. There you go. Give him another hint there.
And we are fun too.
Yeah. Going back, I just did an interview with Caleb Mathis' mom, and she talked about staying engaged with her son throughout the college process, not really trying to be overbearing, but still staying engaged to kind of keep him on track. How has the transition from high school to Jackson State to Colorado been as far as academically for Alejandro, and how have you guys stayed in touch with him and engaged?
No. Okay. So yeah, Alejandro and I, this is my first son, right? My only son. We have a really tight relationship, very tight relationship from he was a baby. When he was born that day, I was there with him crying, holding him. We're always being very tight to the day. We literally text or talk every day. And he knows my first question. Every time I ask him, hey, how's school? How's school? Because he knows, regardless of what his plan is in the future, wants to go to the league, which I'm good with. hey, academics, make sure you continue. And I never had an issue with Alejandro. He was a good kid, and even before we came back to the U.S., he always had good grades, and he's very responsible with that. You're gonna hear him talking about responsibility. He's very responsible about it, and he continues to do well in school. But I cannot help as parent ensuring, hey, how's school doing? How's it doing? Because I want to make sure that he understands from my point of view that school is first, right?
Yes.
So it has been a smooth transition in that aspect. He has done really well in Buford. He done really well in Jackson State, and he's done really well in Colorado as well. So he's majors in communication. So you might see him one of these days doing the same thing you're doing.
Yes, nice. That'll be cool. I think he'll be a natural at it also. So
listen, you saw him, you met him. He's a humble kid. He's down to earth, very casual. That's what we teach at home. You treat people the same way, regardless if it's Joe Biden or the janitor of the school. Exactly. Everybody's human, man. We treat everybody the same, man, and that's the way it should work.
And I think that he has a big capacity to adaptation, because I don't know, maybe it's a good option to live in another countries, and this is a good thing about the adaptation. You know,
it's a good point.
Yeah, because he doesn't matter the school, doesn't matter the people, doesn't matter. He's adapting and everything, and he survived, and he's more than expected all the time. So he's a very good kid.
That's a good point. I think that's a good point, Chico, because when you live in different countries with different culture, different people, you tend to see the world different. Right. Instead of just seeing this all your life, you've seen like this.
Yep.
So I think that's a very good point, and that Alejandro has that in him, that is easy to adapt in wherever he has been to.
Right. Being able to adapt. And like you said, that comes from being traveling all around. Like you said, not having those blinders on, that tunnel vision. You get to have your whole peripheral open to see the world from a different perspective. I saw in the Reach the People media video where he said, Darius asked about how your parents feel. And he said that my dad said, I'm living his dream.
Do I know?
And I understand why he said it. I didn't realize you had a football background, but I definitely understand why he said that now. If you saw that, how did you feel when he said that I think I'm living my dad's dream?
Well, he said that is funny because I actually had told him before, like, son, man, when he was in Jackson State, he had a good game. He was the MVP at the Southern Heritage game last year, right, where he kicked this, I think it was 3 or 4 field goals, and they won the game. So it was a really tight game against Eddie George's team in Memphis.
NC State, yep.
Yeah, so they gave him, I think it's this one. They gave him this FedEx MVP award because of that game. And after that game, he got interviewed and all this stuff. And I talked to him that night. Obviously, we talk after every game. And I told him, son, you living my dream, man. And I think he remembered that, and he held on to that. But I'm pleased that he's living my dream. I mean, I love it. I think he deserves it. He's such a good kid.
Amazing. I love it. Let me see. I know we have some questions coming in. Can you tell us about your current family right now? I know you mentioned your 2 daughters also. Can you speak about them a little bit? And how have they possibly
maybe
okay.
They are here somewhere in the house. No, they're great. Listen, this is an interesting thing. My daughter Valeria, she's a sophomore in high school. Buford has its very first flag football team this year ever.
Yeah,
very first flag football team. And Valeria, as a sophomore, she got soft hands. She's a great receiver. So she made the varsity team for the first year, the flag football team. There they come. That's Valeria, and Alessa is a good basketball and softball player. So here they are.
Nice.
Hey.
This is the flag football girl. This is my little baby.
He's Chico.
That's Chico right there.
Chico.
How you guys doing? How has Big Brother been doing so far at Colorado?
Well, we miss him. I told him I didn't want him to go, but whenever he comes, he drives me everywhere though, so I kind of like that.
And he's okay with Coach Prime, right? How do you guys like Coach Prime?
I love him. I love him so much, bro.
All right. Well, keep up the good work. I hear about you guys being great athletes, so keep up the good work. Good to meet both of you.
Good to meet you too.
Good to meet you.
Thank you. All right. Let's see here. Where can we move it to? We have some questions. We'll get to the questions in a second. We talked about JSU, Colorado, Coach Prime, and soccer to football and everything like that. I'm going to find some questions. Any advice you guys can give to parents out there who have young kids who are looking to be athletes and college athletes, but they might not have those scholarships coming in as of right now? What advices would you give to them as far as just trying to get to that next level?
So one thing that I think was really interesting, Alejandro, again, he has a good work ethic, right? And he won so many awards over these last 5 years. He was first team All-State in Georgia. He was Specialist of the Year, Kicker of the Year. All these things that he has won, he earned them with performance, right? But it wasn't as easy as that. Obviously, you got to put in the time, right? So not only in practice, but outside practice as well, you got to put in the time. You got to put the effort. You gotta always give a little bit more, get a little sacrifices in order to really, kind of step ahead or show up, Chico. So many of the things that we did, that I did with Alejandro, we went to different not soccer, but kicking camps, like kicking football camps. Yep. So we went to a lot of Chris Taylor's camps. We went to Las Vegas. We went to Charlotte. We went to Atlanta. He won one of those camps as a kicker. He got second place in Las Vegas with 500 kickers. So he had this type because, he don't miss. It's because he got that for a reason, right? He's very accurate. He doesn't have the longest leg, but he's very accurate, and that kept him, getting better and getting better. And he continues to work on his game. He doesn't stop there, right? So I would say an advice for parents is, if you really want your kids to get an athletic scholarship or stuff, you gotta put in the time with them. You don't just drop them in school, drop them in practice, and let them do whatever. Hey, if you had to go to Vegas with them, you go. If you had to go, you go. And be there with him and put that time in order for them to really step, notch a little bit better and compete in a different level, right? So I guess that's my advice, Chico.
And like our parents all the time supports. We don't lose any game of our kids, even with our daughters. All the time, we want to see all the time the games.
We support fully athletics. We support. I think it's the best thing to keep kids involved into athletics. I was very athletic when I was a kid. My wife was too. So we know how important it is to keep them, into sports. I think it's very important. That doesn't mean that they're going to be a major star someday, but at least they got a good formation into the future, right? With these things. Yeah.
Just like even Coach Prime said, everybody won't be a professional athlete, but you can be a professional in life. And
absolutely.
Exactly. In your career.
Sir. So, you got it.
Sports will help you keep that focus, keep you, being responsible, keep you accountable. All these things will help you grow in life also. So
spot on.
I like what Coach Prime does with that. I had a question here. Where was it?
That's all right.
Gosh, I will ask this though, because I can't find my question. I'll get back to it in a second. I will ask this though. With him being in Colorado, coming in with that competition, because I saw you mention competition. He coming in, not given that starting spot, but coming in having to compete with another kicker, or should I say several other kickers also, who might be deemed better than him. He's coming from Jackson State. He might just like they thought about Shador and some of the players. Hey, they played at HBCU. they won't be able to really do it on the Power 5 level. But now you see Mata come in the last game, continue to do his thing. How does he stay focused? And this was my question, God, sorry. Where does that accuracy come from? Just is that natural? And how does he stay focused even with being the quote unquote backup and coming in and do his thing?
Yeah, so this is really an interesting question, but to me, it's very simple, to be honest, Chico. Because I know Alejandro, and we lived through so many moments with him, from soccer all the way to football in Lee County, and then in Buford. He just think about this. This kid is 16 years old, kicking a field goal to win state champs in front of 5,000 people. And you see him on TV, cool as a cucumber. I mean, cold veins. The kid he has that. So when we went to Jackson, we were fine. It was a lot more people. I think one day we had 60,000 people in that stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And Alejandro, I mean, no, it's like he's focused, laser focused. He blocks that noise, and he wham in the Southern Heritage that he hit that many. In Miami, his first game in college at the Miami Dolphin Stadium, he kicked that field goal. It was like a 40-yard field goal. It was his very first college kick, and he looked so smooth. So, hey, I'm doing the job here.
Yeah.
He has that in him. He has that calmness, that cold veins type of thing. That's why he performs under pressure. That's one of the edge he has over other kickers. He has that under pressure. I could kick this, no problem.
No problem.
Just like he did in Colorado State, right? He came in, he got those 2 kicks in.
Yep.
I knew he was making them in because I know the kid. He just don't miss, like he said, right? So he has that in him, that cold vein, the laser focus. He was very accurate in soccer. Don't get me wrong. He was very good at kicking the ball and from outside. He was very good at that too. Besides kicking hard, he could put the ball in the right place too. So he had that in him. But what I love about him is how cool he is. You could be talking to him right now. He could be kicking right now. It's the same attitude, same cold guy. Hey, I mean, I'm doing my business. That's all I'm doing. Taking care of business. And that's why I think Coach Prime loved him so much too, that he's very consistent, across the board.
Even kill, as Coach Prime said, almost like he explains about Shador Sanders. Nothing gets him up too high or too low. He kind of stays right there. And that's what makes him, Right.
And this experience, Chico, like I say, in high school, in Jackson State, kicking in front of that many people, other kickers don't have that type of experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as easy as it looks, when you kick in front of that many people, right?
Definitely not.
So that's the mental part that comes in and plays with you, but he's so mentally tough, that it's just enjoy to watch him play.
So he's earned the nickname Automatica and Mata Don't Miss. These come from, and of course at Jackson State, the only 2 that he had, if I'm not mistaken, I saw pretty much every kick, were 2 that were blocked, and that comes from blocking up front. He can't do anything about that. Same thing happened in the spring game in Colorado, and then I think the one that happened here. It all comes from blocks. So if you have a kicker that's only misses coming from blocks, then I'll take that each and every day, and I'll get my line straight up there on the front. I'll deal with that.
Absolutely.
So
every time he get a chance, he'll deliver. Yeah.
Yes. So, but that is a tough name to have. Mata Don't Miss. Does that put added pressure on him? But it seems like he embraces it. Yeah.
Exactly, Chico. It doesn't face him. He's like, I know how to do this. I'm not gonna miss this year. He mean it.
Right.
So.
I remember in a championship in one of the 2. I don't know. Can you imagine that moment, the final that he was kicking, and I was like this, sitting in my seat like this. I can see this. I know that pressure on me.
Right.
And he's like, no, I need to film this. And every family was very excited with that. And okay, you tell me, you tell me. I was super nervous.
She couldn't even see it.
Exactly.
And I was having a blast filming him. Oh my God, this is gonna be awesome. Just like in the bowl game in December last year for Jackson State, that he had to kick that PAT to go to overtime. He had to. It's a simple PAT.
Yeah.
But still, you gotta kick it in.
A lot of people fold under that pressure right there. We've seen a lot of PATs missed in that situation.
Right.
And after the game, my husband told Alejandro, hey, your mom even can see nothing because we're very nervous. And only he told me, Mom, you trust in me. You need to trust on me. Okay.
Nice.
Oh my goodness. Until that day, he's like, yes, I need to trust in you. I trust in you. And I don't, after that moment, I can see anything. Yes, he's my son. You know.
Still confident. Still confident. Right there, man. Good gracious. So, and then he's not. You see some tall, big, strong leg kickers, so to speak, and he comes in and competes against some of these guys. He just doesn't see him, phased at all. 5'8", 180 pounds, maybe.
Yeah.
And he also said something about some smaller kickers in the league that he kind of look after or look up to. Martin Gramatica was one of them. Talk about him learning and just looking up to some of the kickers. Did you put him on to some of the NFL kickers, or did he just learn about these guys as he grew up?
No, he has. When he grew up, he wasn't really much thinking about kicking at all in footballs, because he only saw the actual kicking when he came here to the U.S. 7 years ago. So he liked the ODB, right, and Russell Wilson and all these big names, right? So kicking wasn't a thing until he became a kicker. Then when he became a kicker, he started following Justin Tucker. He likes Justin Tucker.
Yeah.
He thinks he's the GOAT. And he said, well, son, is that who you want to follow? Absolutely. But guess what? When we live in Buford, and Morton Anderson.
I saw a picture with him. He went to his camp, right?
So he lived in Buford.
Yeah.
So one day, Coach gave him his phone number, and I told him, hey, go, Coach, talk to Morton. He could give you a few tips. And Morton said, you know what? I'm going to meet you at the field right now. Let's go. So that was like, whoa, So Morton came into the field, and I was there with him.
That's like one-on-one training. That's not a camp. That's one-on-one.
Exactly. He gave him a few tips that day. He was so awesome. He came and say hello and then give him a few tips. I remember Morton when he played for the Saints or the Falcons. He had a leg, right, and
a long time.
Exactly. So he lives here, and he took the time to talk to Alejandro back in high school and doing this thing. Those are little things like that you go, wow, man. It's in embracing this opportunity, getting to hear people with a lot of experience like that to help him, guide him, and become a better kicker, and he continued to work on his game. He's not done, believe me. He continues to work on his game. Yeah. He continued to improve. He knows he can improve in several things, and he's working on it to do his goal in the future to play in the NFL. But we'll take one day at a time.
One day at a time. Well, he's definitely on the right track to get there by doing what he's doing so far. He's going to get more and more opportunities with Coach Prime and his offense coming up to continue to do his thing. We'll go real quick to a question that I did have. Morals, your family morals. What are some family morals that you kind of instilled in him that hopefully he's living by to this day?
Los morales, los valores de la. You want
to
take that one? Go ahead.
No, for me, it's the most important. I'm very, like I said, very close to my family, and the values for me, the respect, the discipline, to think in another person first. Mm-hmm. We are Catholics too, so we try to do the right things, and we think a lot in consequences. We think and we talk about in our table of the dinner. We talk about the consequences about good things and bad things. If you study, you can be perfect in your test. if you have a bad decision about this, you have a bad consequences about that. Right. So it's only 5 seconds to think about consequences, about all the time the truth, or to be honest, very important to values in is part of the rules of our house. Yeah,
and that goes in line with you said that it kind of goes into line with Coach Prime said. Don't let 5 seconds or 5 minutes of pleasure ruin, your life for a lifetime. You know what I mean? So those values and morals goes right in hand with this head coach. So perfect. We're 50 minutes after the hour right now. We're less than 10 minutes to go. Let's see if we can find some good questions right quick.
Absolutely. Bring them.
Let's see.
I see.
What do you see? Go ahead.
No, I see there's family from Panama watching this, family and friends from Mexico also in line and seeing a lot of comments and stuff. And it's just great support. We got great families, man, back home in Panama, in Mexico, and my family here in the US as well. They've been so supportive. And I'm not talking about Mattis or the Vargas. I'm talking about family that has become family of ours here, that has embraced us, those friends that are really family now to us. They've been so nice. It's just nice to be a part of something special and continue to live in a beautiful country like the US.
Right. How did he arrive at an HBCU? I think we answered that earlier briefly. You can go ahead and answer that really quickly.
Yeah, we arrived here because Alejandro got recruited at a high school. Coach O called him in Buford, and we went and visited an unofficial visit, and then spent some time with Coach Prime, and the rest is history.
Yo Creole, I believe, said, how did the parents feel about meeting Coach Prime for the first time at Jackson State?
I was the only one with my son then when we had breakfast. I think I mentioned earlier, the very first thing, I couldn't help myself. Coach, I'm a big fan. I follow, I had to tell him the whole thing, But I tell you what, I did like what Coach Prime, this again, and such an awesome guy that he did. The first game in TCU in Dallas, we went to see the team at the hotel, and my wife went with me to Dallas to watch that game, and we went to the hotel, right? So we went there, and we were coming in, and Coach Prime was sitting over there, and we're coming in. My wife and I were saying hello to other coaches and players, and Coach Prime saw us. He got off that table that he was sitting on, and he walked to us and gave us a hug, and he went, "The Maras," and he gave us a hug like that to both of us. I thought that was really nice, going across people like that, and he laser focusing on us, going, "The Maras," and gave us a hug, and hugged my son, and I love this kid right here, and we know how he feel about Alejandro, and it's just one of these things little things that he does that you go, man,
he didn't have to do that, and I feel special that he did do it.
We're in the right place, I guess.
Right.
And for me, like a mom, in that moment, he said, "I loved your son like my son." Mm-hmm. So for me, it's like like I said, I'm very close to her mom. It's like okay. It's our son.
Yes.
a share son.
Right. That weight comes off your shoulder. That worry kind of leaves away because you know that he's going to treat him just like his own son. Absolutely. I like it. There was a clip that went viral, of course. I'm sure you remember this one with the Si Senor, and where Coach Prime had him come up and speak in Spanish and translate what he was saying and say, "Give me my theme music." When you saw that go viral, man, did you get a lot of phone calls? How did that change?
Let me tell you a story about that, Chico. Let me tell you a story about that, because this is interesting. That was the first game of Alejandro had, which was at the Miami Dolphins Stadium, at the Hard Rock Cafe Stadium.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Against Florida MAU, right? Yep. FU. So we were there at the game, and we were waiting outside for the players to come out. That thing that happened just happened, right? And he went outside to visit with us, right? So he's talking to us, like, hey, giving us a hug. We're taking pictures, people taking pictures with him. We're watching as always and stuff. And then he goes, "Oh, by the way, I just had a thing there in the locker room. You might see it later on." Just like that. This
Right.
I just had this thing with Coach Prime in locker room. You might see something later on. Like, no
Like it's
big
just a little
deal.
small thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And we're like, okay, yeah, sure. And then we didn't see anything on that until the day after.
The
I think
day
it was
after,
right.
yeah.
That thing went viral and people started calling. Did you see Alejandro? Did you see this? I was bombarded in texting and WhatsApp, and we were like, "What happened?" And then we saw and we started laughing. It's like, and I called Alejandro and say, "Son, is that what you mean by this little thing that happened? Are you kidding me?" You translated to Coach Prime, and the way you translated was awesome. I really enjoy that, man.
Wow.
So that was one of those interesting stories that, again, he's so humble, so poised, down to earth that, those things are okay with him. Nothing big, he doesn't take it to his head or anything like that. He's just a good kid. Thank God.
Okay, well, I'm going to ask you to do something. I just thought about this. I'm going to ask you to do something kind of like that. I'm going to ask you to translate to all of my listeners in Panama, in Honduras, anybody in Latin America or Hispanic background, speak whatever it is. If you can understand, let them know and translate for me and say, everybody out there, make sure you follow, like, and subscribe to BiggDogg Chico's channel. Let's try that.
Hey, gente, amigos, familia, todos los que están escuchando, que están con nosotros aquí ahorita, asegúrense de ponerle un me gusta y sigan a nuestro gran amigo Chico, que es una gran persona y nosotros lo seguimos también. Does that work?
Sir, I think that gracias. I don't want to sound too. My name is Chico, but I speak no English. And my father, no Spanish. I'm sorry, I speak all English. My father named me after one of his military partners who was actually Hispanic. I don't know exactly what country he came from, but he used to always tell me about him. And my name is Chico Ladriguez, and my last name is Cleveland, of course. But my middle name and my first name is a Spanish name. So
wow.
It's good to know that.
That's cool, Chico.
my real name.
So you got Chico in you then.
Yeah. So shouts out to my pops on that one. And next thing, I just need to learn some Spanish, and other than que pasa and
¿Qué pasa?
yeah. So once again, I really appreciate you guys coming on and having this conversation lightheartedly. I'm sure I had some comments that people are going to say, "Man, I didn't get my question answered," but it's so many coming through right now. I don't want to waste
Maybe
too
we'll
much
do it
time.
again sometime in a few
Yeah.
months.
Yeah, we can catch up anytime. Maybe we have a big moment here to catch up and talk about some things and just move forward from there. So I appreciate you guys' time. Anything you want to add before we get out of here?
Well, just saying hello again. I know families there watching. Saludos a todos. Un abrazo. We love you all. Thank you for joining us. And Chico, thank you for the invite. I think it was great. We love it.
And thank you for the big
again.
support for Alejandro.
Yeah, thank you all for
yes.
supporting a good. That's mom
Yes.
right there. Thank you all for supporting Alejandro. He's having a blast over there, and he continued to be the guy. He don't miss.
And we wait for you here in Atlanta. Here's your house.
There you go.
You hear that, right? Oh, I'm coming.
Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you so much once again. I really appreciate this. We'll try to catch up with you guys coming soon. Hopefully we'll cross paths in Boulder or somewhere one of these games, and we can officially meet ourselves. So once again, we have the Matas right here, Miss Nora and Mr. Alejandro, checking in for their son, Alejandro Mata, Mr. Automatico. Don't miss. So the kicker for the Colorado Buffs, y'all stay tuned. We got more prime parents coming for you guys. Thanks again, and we out of here.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right. I'm back here on Prime Parents once again for another episode. It is me, Chico to the C, and the place to be, BiggDogg, should I say. And we're here. We have a special guest once again. I mean, this one right here is I'm honored to have her. She has a unique story, being a football wife and a football mother. So we'll get right into it. We have Miss Kim Mattis, the wife of Kevin Mattis, of course, Colorado football cornerbacks coach. She's a Dallas, Texas native, best-selling author, public speaker, member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. She's an entrepreneur, podcast host, interior designer, addiction advocate, master of fine arts, of course, a wife. And the reason why we're here today on Prime Parents is she's the mother of CU Buffs freshman wide receiver, Caleb Mathis. So I want to add on with me right now. Give it up for Miss Kim Mattis, everybody.
Well, appreciate it. Thank you for that warm welcome. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much for joining me. So we'll get right into it. We'll talk about your background a little bit, coming from Dallas, Texas. Can you tell me about what you want to share about your upbringing so people can get to know you a little bit better?
Well, a little bit about myself. As you said, I was born and raised in Dallas, Texas, so proud of the Dallas Independent School District. Shout out to my Skyline High School. And I spent all of my young adulthood and life there until I went to college. During that time, I really grew as a person because, as my story goes, I was born to a mother who had a tumultuous addiction to both heroin and cocaine. So I wrote a book about that entitled Dope Girl that helped me navigate what it was like to live with an addict and the mental illness of it. And I used that adversity to be the very best that I could be. So that after high school, I went on to college and excelled in school, where I was, named to a host of organizations, and I cheered there as well. And that's where I met my husband, and the rest is history.
Wow. All right. So I guess we'll get right into it. Tell us about how you met Coach. I'm sure he wasn't coach at the time. He was probably stud football player. So tell us about meeting Coach and how that went, that love story.
Yeah, just real quick. I mean, as you said, he was a stud football player, and I was a freshman on campus. So, it was make me know, never mind. I was like, okay, he's a football player. But we had a mutual friend that I went to high school with who was also at school with us. And we went to Texas A&M University in Commerce, who was also a member of the football team. And so he came up to me one day in the cafeteria in the student center, and he was like, hey, I got a friend that wants to meet you. And I was like, yeah, I'm good. I don't want to meet anybody. I've had my fair share of, new introductions. So I think I'm good. And he was like, no, really, no. I want you to look over there at that table, and you see that guy wearing number 3? And he just so happened to have on, his football jersey that day. And he was like, that's my dog, Kevin Mathis, and I want you to meet him. And I was like, okay. So after about a week, he set it up for us, and we met at a mutual location, and we just hit it off immediately. And so here we are 26 years later.
Wow. Amazing. 26 years later, and 3 kids later, of course. And
Yep.
your middle child, your first son, is Caleb.
Yep.
Quick question. I didn't do this research, but it just came up to me. Your name begins with a K, Kevin. All your kids with the K?
You are right. We are the K5 is what we call ourselves. So we have Kevin, Kim, Kennedy is my oldest child, and she's 21. Caleb, who is 19, and Cole, who is 17, almost 18.
Wow, amazing. All of them athletes?
Every one of them are athletes. My daughter was a competitive cheerleader for a while. She cheered at Xavier University for a little bit. She has now transitioned full-time to be with us here in Colorado. So she's not doing the athletic thing anymore. However, Caleb is, of course, my athlete. And then my youngest boy also plays football for Fairview High School in Boulder.
Nice. So you guys made that full family transition to Boulder, Colorado.
We did. All 5 of us made the haul.
All right. So before we get to Boulder for sure, let's go to I All right, so you have Caleb, and let's go back to the high school days. Or matter of fact, let's go early childhood days. How was Caleb as a youngster?
Caleb, as a youngster, was very, very quiet. He was always my mild-mannered kid. Never was a man of many words, never was a kid of many words. But whenever he did say something, it was always something worth listening to. He was very inquisitive. Caleb is an analytical brain, as I call him. So he's the one who digests information and processes it before he says anything. So most of us do a whole lot of talking and not a whole lot of listening. But Caleb is my kid that is just the opposite. He does more listening than he does talking, so that whenever he does say something, it's usually something most people need to hear.
Right. So I'll take it being that analytical type brain. He was a good student. How was he in school?
So you hit it the nail on the head, because he's an analytical type brain. He was actually very naturally gifted in school, especially in the realm of science and math. Caleb, as a kid, was advanced in both of those subject areas, and so he was ahead 2 years of school in both math and science. So even coming into high school, he had already completed half of his high school math and science requirements at his previous school, because he had tested at such an advanced level. And a little bit further down the road, when he got ready to go to college and we started entertaining, the college entrance exams and all of that, he excelled really well and scored, an astonishing 30 of 36 on the ACT for college entrance exams.
Wow. Okay, so we know Coach Mathis's professional background, and of course he gets I guess we can go a lot of his athletic ability from Coach. Well, we know, can you tell us about your educational background, which is vast, a little bit? Give the people a history of yours, because I'm sure, not to cut you off, I'm sure that's where he got that from. You're going to take credit for that. Let Coach
take credit. Definitely take credit for that. I'm like, Kevin can't have everything. He does get his athletic ability from his dad, without a doubt. Now, I did cheer in high school, so I was an athlete as well, and I cheered 4 years of my college career as well. So I finished, my senior year of college, on the co-ed cheer squad. But as far as my educational background, like I said before, that was something that I always took a lot of pride in. And like I mentioned before, I came from a real tumultuous background where my mom was a drug addict. So I used the educational piece as a motivation factor to get me to where it is that I wanted to be. So I was always, gifted in the areas of English and writing, and all of those things came very naturally to me. So in high school, I graduated with highest honors, National Honor Society. I went on to attend Texas A&M University of Commerce on a full academic scholarship there. And then once I left school, I was just a mom. I got married about a year after graduating from college. And because Kevin was in NFL, we were busy, engulfed in the life of what a professional athlete was like, and navigating all of those dynamics and living in two places at once, since we're Texas. Now, the thing is, he was, his first team was the Dallas Cowboys. So it didn't, affect us too much in terms of, having to transition. But then just recently, I finished my educational goals and I went back to school and finished my master's degree, Master of English and Creative Writing, in December of 2022. So it's 20 years down the road, but I was determined to do it and finish it. And so I'm really, really proud.
Wow, as you should be. I went back and got mine later on down the road also. So as you should be. It's not an easy process to do, and
No.
whether it's online or in classes with younger people, they
Exactly.
So congratulations on that.
And I have aspirations of getting my doctorate, but then I think about it sometimes and I'm like, I don't know if I'm really ready for all of the torture of 15 and 20 page papers. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of a break in time to think about it. So we'll see.
And so that led to you writing your best-selling book, Dope Girl, and talking about your trauma in your past, and like you said, your mom who was an addict, and and all the things you went through with that, how did that affect you or inspire you as far as being a wife and a mother?
Oh, wow. Great question. So, as far as my experience, normally when people are born into adversity, you do one of two things. You either fall victim to the situation, or you do the opposite and you try to find an alternative that has you respond in a way that's more positive. So, like I said, I use my educational, motivation, my educational desires as motivation to create a different path and a different life for myself. Because growing up as a kid, I never had a real relationship with my mom because she was battling the mental illness of addiction. And I like to say that she was walking around like a ghost in her own body that we didn't know, because she was so unrecognizable from a mental and physical standpoint. So, with all of that being said, I channeled all of those lessons into the book Dope Girl, because it is my way, it was a therapeutic way of me understanding what it was like to live with other people's choices. So my goal was to write this book in a way that inspires other people to navigate their situation and not be victim of other people's choices, and to understand mental illness, addiction, I'm sorry, for the mental illness that it is, and not, just criminalizing people for being addicts. Because there's so much more that encompasses an addict than it is just, oh, we're going to criminalize them. Because nobody wakes up one day and decides they want to be an addict.
Right.
Addiction is usually the outward language of an inner unhealthiness. So when we're unhealthy on the inside, we try to find ways to cope. So I channeled all of that energy and those experiences into my book, Dope Girl. And whether you have been, somebody that's an addict, or you have any experience with anybody that's an addict, you will find yourself in this book, because it's so much more about addiction than it is about healing from within. Understanding, like I said, what it's like to live with other people's choices, and to create and set boundaries, for yourself, and then seeking God in all things.
Correct. Right. I like that. So
Mhm.
I need to put a link down below for the book for anybody who haven't checked it out yet. Get down below, get the link, and or hit the link and check out the book Dope Girl. So into motherhood now. You have Caleb, your second son.
Yes.
Great student in school. You're recognizing all of his talents and capabilities. When is it that you put him on the football field, and whether it's youth league or whatever, and he starts to shine, or he starts to show these abilities?
Well, I will tell you what, Caleb started to show signs of a great understanding of the game early on, because Caleb's football IQ is something to reckon with. Though his physical stature was a lot smaller than most of his peers, it took him a while to kind of catch up physically. But Caleb, whenever he had the opportunity, he was always the kid that made the play at the right time when he was supposed to, because his football IQ put him in a place to where he understood the assignment, and he was always where you needed him to be. It's a reason why the coaches call him Mr. Reliable, because he's exactly where he's supposed to be, and he understands the game on a level that is just really impressive.
Right. Now, I'm sure that goes back to his analytical mind, but also how did coach, his dad, play into that, as far as watching film or something, or did he watch his dad on TV, or how did that work?
Man, so Caleb has been watching film, since he came out of the womb. And it may not be the actual film, X's and O's that the coaches study, but he has been a diehard football fan, since we can remember. And Kevin has always sat him down, and they've watched games together where he's asked him questions about what the receiver was doing, what the defensive back was supposed to be doing, and what coverage were they playing, and teaching him different things. As a child, his absolute favorite team was the Oklahoma Sooners. And so for a very, very long time, he grew up saying that he was going to the University of Oklahoma. So every Saturday, without a shadow of a doubt, we were sitting at home watching OU play football, and Caleb had everybody in the house turning into Boomer Sooners. So with that being said, my husband would use those opportunities with him watching OU to really help him understand the game and break down what was happening more than just the receiver ran a route and he caught the ball and the defender was supposed to do this, but really breaking it down. Then it got a little bit more advanced as he got older, and we understood at an early age that he could understand football from a really intensive perspective. So then it became write it on paper, and Kevin would draw stuff on paper and tell me, okay, where does this guy go? Where does this guy go? And where does this guy go? It was, I mean, sometimes I'm like, what are we doing here? But, he totally understood it. He embraced it, and it has definitely paid off.
Yes. And you can tell, not jumping too far ahead, but even in the spring game, back, you could tell Shador trust him to be in the right places. He was there. He made those plays. As a freshman, surprised a lot of people. Just, just being that steady guy and being, reliable, like you said, Mr. Reliable.
Yes.
So did that go back? Did that start in high school? How was he in high school as far as an athlete? Was he highly recruited? Did people kind of overlook him because of his size? How did that play out?
I mean, you're spot on. Caleb, as a high school athlete, he progressed so much within the last 2 years. He was always the kid that you could depend on who understood it from a different vantage point. However, because he was a lot smaller than most of them, his size, I think, got in the way of people's expectations or perceptions. But I think as he started to catch up a little bit, they understood that this kid, has something, and he has something special. So he was not highly recruited, I think, primarily because of his size. But the more opportunities that he was able to get, the more people realized that, okay, we're overlooking some of his abilities here. So no, he wasn't highly recruited, and all he ever wanted was an opportunity and a chance. But because Caleb has grown up with his dad and Coach Prime primarily as his only coaches his entire life, I think they knew what Caleb was capable of doing. They knew what his skill set was and what he could contribute and bring to the table, specifically with, high power staff like we have here at CU, who would put him in the position to really develop and grow as an overall all-around athlete.
Right. Stepping back just a second, though, at what year did Coach Kevin Mattis, what year did he start working with Coach Prime in the younger leagues?
Oh, you mean in the younger leagues or when they first started working together, period?
Was it Trinity or was it before that?
No, it was way before that. So Dion started a youth football league called Truth. And it was a high power dynamic, youth football league. And we traveled all over the country, doing tournaments and taking the kids to see, college campuses and different things like that allowed the kids a lot of exposure, that, traditional programs would not have allowed. And that program started in 2008. So almost 20 years ago. It's been quite some time. And so with all of that, they had a level of excellence and a standard of excellence from the very, very beginning. And those principles have been the standard, from the very beginning. That is the standard. The standard is the standard. And so even in youth Pee Wee, I mean, there was always a lot of discipline and lots of structure. And because they both, Kevin and Dion, are so rooted in the old school grind of what, football looks like, they taught that to the kids even then, back in 2008.
Yeah. So Caleb is the youngest out of Shador and Shiloh, but he's been playing with them.
Yes.
I can imagine since he was, even just
4 years old.
Just a young pup out there running around.
Yes. He was on the little Pee Wee team with them, and he played flag. And so, of course, Shador played on a different team because he's just a year older. But Caleb played on the flag. But they have been together just as a unit at least since Caleb was 4 and 5, as early as he could possibly play, playing Pee Wee. And then they progressed and they got older, and they were on the same playing field because they were about the same age. And then they went to, Coach Kevin and Dion went to Trinity Christian High School in Cedar Hill, Texas. And then Caleb and Shador were on the team together, and Shador was Caleb's wide receiver. I'm sorry, Caleb's quarterback. And so he has some experience playing with him, just, as a freshman and a sophomore in high school until Shador made the transition to Jackson State.
Right. So that's exactly where I want to go to. Jackson State. Shador goes to Jackson State. Coach Prime gets the head coaching job. Of course, he calls his boy, Coach Mattis, to come along with him. He accepts it. Do you guys immediately move to Jackson, Mississippi? How does that work?
Yeah, the transition. The transition was pretty fast because it was COVID, so it was a really weird, season. They didn't really, play a traditional season when they first got there, but they transitioned pretty quickly. And they got there in January and immediately went to work, revamping the structure, revamping, just their ideology for what they wanted to accomplish, installing their philosophy of I believe, and getting everybody to buy into the mantra of I believe, and exactly what that means and how it is beneficial when we change our mindsets and really own what it is that we're trying to accomplish. So they started that process immediately, right after he was hired.
Right. So for the parents out there listening, you might have a football or sports spouse or whatever, and you're wondering how do you handle these things. How is it having a husband as a coach and traveling these different places? Because a lot of coaches even go to much more different places than just Jackson and then Colorado with Coach Prime. So how is that just handling, keeping the family together and everything sane? And because
yeah, well, there's no doubt about it. It is, a lot, when you have to move, multiple times. Luckily, we're fortunate that we haven't had to move a whole lot of places. But it doesn't matter where they go. We're here to support. We're in for the long haul. They are awesome at what they do, and we hope that this train continues to go down the track. But in terms of not being able to, moving around so much, like I said, we've been fortunate that we haven't had to go a whole lot of places. But I will say that with my kids being a little bit older, it has really been beneficial because I don't really have babies anymore that I have to worry about, really suffering trauma from losing friends or being in a new environment or, having to start over. Because mine are older, they're pretty established in their friend circles and in their personalities, that they adapt fairly well. And because school is pretty much online anywhere now, it is, a much easier transition than in the past, or would normally be for most families. The only person that really had to do a little bit more transitioning was my younger son, Cole, who is a senior in high school this year because school is back in session full time. We're going to brick and mortar building. We're not, doing online, like we were in COVID. So he did have to make the transition of moving from his high school in Texas to a high school here. And so, but it has worked out just fine.
Yeah, leaving a lot of his friends.
Correct. So it's still traumatic, leaving friends no matter what age you are, but it definitely becomes a little bit more bearable when they're older, because you can stay in touch and there's FaceTime and you can call and they play video games online together, and so they find ways to stay connected.
Exactly. All right. So Jackson State, we're going to Colorado, and Caleb has a chance to join the team now because he's graduating and going to college. He's probably one of the first 2 or 3 guys we've seen on the well-off videos when they got there in the locker rooms and stuff. Became a fan favorite almost instantly. Just talk about the transition to Colorado and how has that been for yourself and the family?
Well, The transition has been awesome. I will say the people in Colorado are absolutely loving and welcoming, and we couldn't be more proud to be a part of this community where they are just embracing us with open arms, and everybody is here on a mission to make the University of Colorado, the place to be. So we are excited about the transition. Is absolutely beautiful here, one of the most beautiful states that I've been to. So I mean, hard not to really like. I will tell you, I'm a Texas girl through and through, so I don't really like the cold. But I will say that it has been. Can you give me 1 second? I'm so sorry. So I don't really like the cold, but outside of that, it is beautiful. So it takes a little bit of getting used to. But I will say that, the people are nice and welcoming. The city has embraced us, and it's absolutely beautiful. Once you find your own community and a group of people that you can attach to, it makes the transition a lot better. And everybody at CU is like a big family. So it has been, it's been awesome for us so far.
Excellent. We have some questions, of course, I wanted to get to before we get out of here. So I won't hold you too long. So I'm just going to go through some of the ones that came through on YouTube. This is from Larry. It says, how has your son adjusted to the demands of college football, both academically and athletically?
Ooh, good question. Caleb thought he had it rough in high school trying to manage, a rigorous course academic load and, play football, but he had not quite experienced, adversity, or not adversity, but he had not quite experienced stress the way he had until he got here, because, the demands are just so much greater when it comes to, D1 athleticism and football programs, and then the workload of what the academic requirements look like on this level. So he is adjusting. I will tell you, as a parent, I have had to be on him more than ever about his grades, because though Caleb is very naturally athletic, academically gifted, he's tired so much more than what he probably, would have been on a high school program. So I have to do constant check-ins, hey, did we do this? Hey, did we turn this in? Hey, send me this. Let's look over and make sure you did everything that you're supposed to do. Was this one on time? Just trying to keep him afloat and holding him responsible and accountable for what his, academic responsibilities are, because we're a student first, and not an athlete, but we're a student first. And so he's adjusting much better this semester because he's had the spring underneath him, and now he understands what to expect. But it has been difficult just from a workload standpoint on both sides, on the football side and the academic side.
Great. I'm glad you said that and explained that like that, so that for the parents out there listening of athletes, the workload is something that is going to be more of like the shock or the culture shock for the young players coming in. So for all the grief and stuff that the freshmen have been getting recently, for whether it's being late, on time, whatever it is, parents have to probably help out some too. What advice would you give to some parents of freshman athletes, no matter where they are, whether Colorado or anywhere? What advice would you give to them?
Well, my advice is to stay engaged. I know we think that once they get to college that we have set them up for success and that they are equipped to kind of handle things on their own. But when it comes to college in general, that freshman year is such a year of growth and transition that we really have to kind of coddle them a little bit through it, just to make sure that they understand what is expected. Because what you don't want to do is cause any strife or disadvantage in your freshman year, because then you'll be spending the rest of your academic career or the rest of your athletic career trying to recoup from whatever mistakes that you made. So as a parent, what I try to do is just really hone in on what Caleb's responsibilities are. And I try to make sure that I do weekly and daily check-ins with him to make sure that he's making a list and he's checking it twice, and that he's visiting his academic advisor, and that he's taking advantage of those tutoring sessions, and that he's doing everything that he's supposed to do, because nobody is going to worry about, in a few years, Caleb's a great football player, but I also want Caleb to finish what he came here for, which was also to earn a degree. And so just as a parent, because that is so pivotal to us and pivotal in my household, I want to make sure that I do everything that I can to hold him accountable. Now, I will admit he doesn't like it, because in some regards he may feel like I'm babying him, but I know that at the end of the day, he'll be happy that I stayed on him and didn't just leave him to his own devices, because, because Power 5 is demanding, these kids are tired. They're exhausted. He did a video on one of his YouTube channels where it was a day in the life. And I think he started at 5:30 a.m. and he didn't get home till 9:30 or 10 a.m. So you talk about 13 and 14-hour days for these kids most of the time. So finding the energy just to do what they have to do is a chore in itself. It's not that they can't, it's not that they're incapable, but it takes a matter of mental toughness and adjusting to where they understand what is expected, and no matter how tired or how frustrated they are, that they get it done. So my advice to parents is to make sure that you stay engaged. Don't leave your kids to their own devices. Check, and double check.
I think that answers the second question of how do you manage communication with your son, especially during the busy football season, to ensure a healthy parent-child relationship. I think that's kind of answering it right there. Just staying involved, staying engaged each and every day. You can stand on top of things, just making sure that he's being responsible.
We text a lot, back and forth. And, sometimes I can always tell whether he's in class or in a meeting or, at practice or something, depending on how quickly he responds to me. But I text him often to make sure that he's good. And my question is always, you good, sunshine? You good, sunshine? To make sure that he knows I'm here to help you and assist you in whatever way that, you need me. So I try to keep the lines of communication open. Don't just talk to him all the time about football or school, but check in for his mental health and his mental well-being too, and just to make sure that he's handling everything, in a healthy way.
Right. Lighter question. Did Caleb play multiple sports coming up?
He did, actually.
Okay.
He did. He played basketball and he played baseball. And he did a little bit of track. He wasn't a sprinter, of course. Caleb was more of a distance runner. So he did the 800 and the mile a couple of times. He was pretty successful at that. And he played basketball all the way up until about his freshman year of high school. And then that's when he decided that he was going to be exclusively football and concentrate on that wholeheartedly. But he did. He played soccer as well. He was a great little soccer player.
I was going to say,
Great little soccer player. He was very nifty.
You can see that with his moves on the field.
He was a great little soccer player. I almost forgot about that. But yes, so he played soccer, baseball, and basketball.
Right. Okay. How do you handle game day emotions, and what rituals or traditions do you have to stay positive and engaged?
Ooh, that's a good one. These game day emotions, I tell you, they take me back to the days of the NFL when my husband was playing in the NFL, and you just have those nervous jitters because you want them to do well and you want them to have some success, and you want my child and every coach out there to walk off healthy, and, injury free. And so game day jitters, I really just try to hone in on the fact that God has called him to such a time as this. And he has groomed him to be, in this situation and with this opportunity. And though he's still waiting for, his opportunity to break out at wideout, we know that it's coming and that he will be there eventually, because Caleb plays inside, not outside. But right now he's taking advantage of his opportunity on special teams, and he's doing well on the kickoff team. So managing my game day stress, when we get ready to kick off, I'm just like, Lord, don't let him miss the block. Don't let him miss the tackle. Just let him be successful and in the right place and focused to where he can execute exactly what it is that we know he's capable of doing.
And side note, he made the first tackle in the TCU game on the kickoff.
He did. He did. The very first tackle of the primetime era.
Prime era, yep. That's
He
a
did.
for that. That special teams is important also. A lot of people don't realize how important special teams is.
Oh, yeah.
It's the third element of the ball game. It can, as we've seen this year, it can sway the ball game one way or the other.
Yes, it can.
And
Yes.
most NFL players have played special teams at some point in college, and sometimes they come into the league
Yes.
playing special teams.
Yes.
So that's very important.
My husband has instilled in Caleb that you have to play special teams and be well-rounded in order to hone skills in other areas. That special teams is just as important in anything else, and you use that to your advantage, to just take advantage of your opportunity. And I will say that Caleb has been the epitome of what it means to take advantage of his opportunity.
Right. I would say this. He probably went through some of the things that Shador and Shiloh went through. And we saw Coach Prime say how he had to go through, or the kids had to go through coming up being NFL's son, pro player son, or
Yes.
you're given this, you're not that good. How has Caleb had to deal with that coming up? And how has Coach Mattis dealt with that and tried to keep his confidence up, so to speak?
My goodness. Well, that's a really interesting question because you're right. There's so much the level of scrutiny for athletes, kids is 10 times what it would be a normal child, just because of the level of expectations. But we have to be careful not to associate or identify the kid with their father and who they are, their skill set. Yes, they are of the same pedigree. Yes, most of them are insanely talented, but most of the time they do have their own identities. And so I really appreciate the fact that though that Mathis name has always, kind of been something that has swirled around, Caleb his entire athletic career, that he has been open to standing up to the challenge and just accepting himself for what he knows that he can do, being confident in his own skill set and not allowing, his dad's success to infiltrate, how he goes about conducting his business, because Caleb is not a DB like Kevin was. Kevin was a DB, and Caleb decided to play on the offensive side of the ball, which he felt like was a better fit for him and a better fit for his skill set. Right. So with that being said, it is awesome that, he's had my husband and Coach Prime to pour so much knowledge into him his entire life, since they basically are the only two coaches he's had most of his life growing up. But I think Caleb has handled it very well, what it's like to be a coach's kid, because he's just confident in who he is. He does what it is that he knows how to do, and he doesn't allow, that to anything else to deter him.
Right. I'm going to paraphrase this question because I think it's a good one, but I've seen a couple pictures with you with some of the other players' moms. I've seen you with Miss Tracy also. How has that relationship been, just fostering a relationship with the other wives and player moms and things of that nature? How has that been?
I mean, I absolutely love the camaraderie amongst the women. It allows us to have a safe space where we can, lean on each other and just trying to understand what football means, because to us, football is just not something they do. It's a ginormous part of our lives. Yeah. So I love the ability to be able to lean on other parents and other women who are in this arena, who can understand challenges that other women who are not in this world might not be able to understand, what those pressures are or what those expectations are or what daily life is like, making sure that we have created, nice home environments, and that, we have, all the tools that we need to be successful. So I appreciate all the village of women who are pouring into my life and that I can call at the drop of a dime, because for us mothers who have kids that are out there, we all just want them to be successful, and we all want them to, just have the best experience possible. So being able to call another sister who understands is just, a lifeline that we can't take for granted.
Okay. All right, we're gonna we at what 39 minutes right now. Make sure you guys get down in the comments and let us know what you think about this. Also, get in the link below. You can get Miss Kim Mattis's best-selling book, also called Dope Girl, and support Caleb in his NIL situation with the jerseys and things at the Colorado NIL store. I have a link down below for that. Also, how cool is it to see and to be able to purchase gear with the name on the back and your son's number? How cool is that for the NIL nowadays?
I mean, when I tell you, it is definitely strange and weird. I mean, you see other people doing it from other programs prior to Caleb becoming a college athlete and, making it to this level and having the opportunity to, make an impact here, have his own experience here. You see players or parents, with their kids' jerseys on, and it's awesome. But being able to experience it, I will tell you, it is a little bit weird because I'm like, I cannot believe that I could click on a link and my child's name is on the back of his jersey, and I didn't go make it myself.
Right. Like back in the day, that's what we had to do, right? You had to go make it yourself.
Exactly. I mean, it's just something to be proud of that, God is giving him this unbelievable opportunity, and that in the world of NIL that he can actually benefit in some small way from, his name and his image and his likeness, so that, he can just continue to do great things. So I am stoked about it, and it is definitely weird. I'm glad I don't have to make them myself anymore.
All right. What are some of the off-field skills or qualities you believe are important for your son's success, both in football and in life?
Ooh, some off the field skills. One of the main things I would say would be time management. His time management is literally everything, and learning to alleviate procrastination. But all of that comes with first a changed mindset, and just understanding that if I've got a changed mindset and I understand that time is valuable and it is the one commodity that we can't get more of, it's the one thing that we can't get back, that you take advantage of your time and that you use it wisely. So understanding the value of time and how to prioritize that is something that I think is most beneficial on and off the field, and learning how to alleviate distractions and that lead to procrastination. But all of those things start with a mindset and understanding the value in all of that first.
Amazing. I like that. So speaking of mindset, let's get into Coach Prime and how he has changed the mindset of everybody who's know anything about something about Colorado football.
Right.
He's come in there and done amazing things. Your husband's right there with him. Caleb's been a part of it. How has he been experiencing this and being a part of it also?
I
Just
mean,
unfold in front of you.
this is not new. This is exactly who Coach Prime is. This is who he is at his core. He is a fire starter, and he will go and reignite a flame anywhere that he goes. We don't call him Prime Time for nothing.
Right.
My husband has a 27-year relationship with Dion because they started out as teammates together in 1997 for the Dallas Cowboys. So their relationship spans 27 years, and together they have such an amazing relationship that I've been able to see over the course of that relationship just exactly who Dion is. And Coach Prime is that guy. He is a fire starter. He's all about change and disrupting the norm so that he can bring out the excellence and in everyone. And it's just a sight to see and behold. He does it his way, and he does it unapologetically, and he does it in a way that rears results. So how can you argue with someone who is so effective at rearing results? And so I'm just so proud to call him my big brother and to be a part of this journey. And we've been on this ride for a very long time, but being with him and seeing this is not new to me because he has always been this guy, and we have been believing since the very, very beginning.
Wow, 25 plus years. How would you say 26 or 29?
27 years they've been friends, and they've been together, and they've been doing things together and coming together. and playing together for 27 years.
Wow, amazing. And going back real quick, going back to those 27 years, did you know when they became best buddies or friends or whatever it was at the time, did you know how this would possibly impact both of you guys' life?
Absolutely. Because at the time, Dion was the star of all stars, and he still is. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Prime time is prime time. But in 1997, when we first had started a relationship with Dion, he was a larger than life figure in the sports world. I mean, and he still is, but he was at that time specifically a larger than life figure in the sports world. So when he befriended Kevin and he was a rookie and he took Kevin under his wing, I never in my wildest dreams would imagine that they would still be this close so many years later. But the more that time goes on, the more I realize they were destined to be friends because they're so much alike. Their personalities are so much alike in the sense that they demand excellence and they don't take excuses and they value hard work, and that's just who they are. It's just who they are.
Okay. Last couple questions. I got one personally for me.
Yep.
Coach Mattis, his Instagram has fella on there.
Yes.
Is that like a nickname of his, or is that something he says a lot as a coach? Where did the fella come from?
Man, that's interesting that you asked that because when he was a rookie in the Dallas Cowboys, they nicknamed him Lil Fella, and no one other than Coach Prime is the one who gave him that nickname, Lil Fella, and it has just stuck all of these years. So he doesn't even call him Kevin or Coach Mathis. He just calls him Fella, as he has for the last 27 years.
That's a Southern nickname too.
Yep, because he was the little fella on the team. Yep.
That's not my uncle fella back in Selma, Alabama.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your favorite part of game day with Caleb? Just over the years and looking forward into the future, because he has at least 3 more years left. You guys going to see this thing through coming from the beginning. What's your favorite part of going through game day as a mother?
As a mom, my favorite part of game day is just seeing him with his jersey on, to be honest with you, because it signifies to me that he's living his dream, that he is where he wants to be, and that this is something most athletes aspire to do and don't always get an opportunity to accomplish. So whether he actually runs out there on the field or not, knowing that he's in a place where he actually has a jersey with his name on it and he can put it on means that he has a chance and he has an opportunity. And I just love seeing him with his jersey on because it just tells me that this kid is living his dream, and I couldn't be more proud of him.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We have 47 minutes.